Yo, what's going on guys? HyperX here, welcome back to another video for Elden Ring, and in this one I want to put together a quick guide on how to respec. If you don't like how you have spent your skill points, if you want to reinvent your character or just change your skill points because maybe you found a new weapon and you want to spec differently, then in this video I'm going to go through what you need to know in order to respec. I will however say that in order to do this, this will include a spoiler, but I'm going to structure this video in such a way whereby if you do not want spoilers, you can still watch the first part because I will explain how it works, I'll explain where you get the items in order to respec, and then if you don't want to see the last part which pertains to one of the bosses, then you can simply step away, but you can still get the information. So hopefully you guys find this helpful. If you do, a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below if you have any questions, and again I will give you a spoiler warning later in the video when I think you should step away if you don't want to see this stuff. So to begin with, in order to respec, you will need to have access to the second area north of Limgrave, which of course is Leonia, that is the sort of lake area, and you will also need to have gained access to Raya, which is basically this area's equivalent of Stormvale Castle. It is the next big location you'll work through, and in getting to the end, you will also defeat the second boss, which again I will not speak about right now, but that is of course part of the spoilers at the end of the video. However, for the purposes of this, simply pay attention to the Site of Grace, Raya Grand Library. This is the location you go to in order to respec, but it's only something you can do after you have defeated the second boss. When you go there, you're able to speak to someone, and provided you have the correct item, you can then respec. That will then reset your points, and you can then spend them again. It is worth noting, however, you can only respec the skill points that you have spent from the time leveling up. In other words, if you chose, say, a samurai at the beginning and they have a base stat distribution, that will still have to remain as your foundation, so you won't be able to completely start from scratch and just spend the points exactly where you want. So think of this basically as reverting your character back to the state that you began at the start of the game, but you can then still spend the rest of the points that you have earned freely and of course go from there. However, in order to respec, you are going to need an item called a Larval Tear. Think of this as the currency to respec. Now there are a number of these you'll encounter throughout the game. They are not unlimited, but there are quite a few of them. So in this video, I'm going to give you 3 different locations. The first one is something you can get in Limgrave. The second one you will get in Leonia. The third one you will get in another location. Again, I will spoiler warn that before we get to it. So, assuming you want a Larval Tear, first things first, go to the Agil Lake South Site of Grace, and from there what you want to do is turn around and basically go up towards this location here. You'll see some basic trash mobs, but this guy over here specifically, if you defeat him, he will then turn into a bear, and watch out, you'll kind of get caught, but once you have defeated that bear, it will then drop a Larval Tear. So that is tier number 1, and again you only need 1 per respec, but they are consumed, so if you're going to go and do your first respec, then that's probably enough. However, if you're looking for a second tier because you want to do a second respec, now turn your attention to the Folly of the Lake Site of Grace that you see here, and you basically want to work your way up towards this location that you see in the mist, the village of the Albinox. Now for this one, you basically want to run down this direction and you then want to run up the hill, and unfortunately I actually got this one already, and like the professional that I am, I forgot to record it, but if you go over to this location you see right here, there will be a purple collectible right where I am right now. You can pick this up and this will be Larval Tear number 2. Now for the third one, if you happen to want another Larval Tear because maybe you can't make your mind up, this time we're going to be going to another location. I will put a light spoiler warning here. This is not the aforementioned story spoiler. This is just a light spoiler warning because it's another location that maybe you wouldn't have seen yet. If you don't want to see it, then you've probably got all the information you need. You've got some tiers, you know where to go to respec. You can probably step away. But if you do want to do this, you go to the Sophra River Well, which of course you can find over in Limgrave, and then once you go inside, you take the long elevator down, and it basically brings you to this very cool underground location. Now what happens when you get here is basically you want to go and run through this passageway. If you follow it, I'm going to speed it up a little bit, it's pretty simple though. Basically you want to run through the ruins and work your way up to the next elevator, you pull the lever and you wait for that one. Once that comes down, you then get to the next location at the top, and from here, again, you can use your horse. You basically want to run the direction that you see me right now. The main thing we're doing here is we're trying to sort of bypass all the enemies because they are very strong in this area. Most things will probably 1 or 2 shot you depending on the level that you are, so basically just try to avoid things as much as possible, and you want to go straight towards this scaffolding you see over here. Once you get there, you then want to climb the ladder. There is an enemy above you. If you want to avoid them, what you can do is hang 3 steps down below from the top of the ladder, and the enemy will actually walk off and fall off, and you can then climb up and completely bypass them. But once you've done that, you can then climb to the top and you can then work your way around the left, and you basically want to just follow this pathway all the way until the end, drop off, and when you drop off, you will find a vendor and he will sell you a Larval Tear for 3,000 runes, which is a pretty good price. Also worth noting, he has 3 of those stone imp swords in stock, which are also very useful, so you might want to grab those. But with all that said and done, you now have a location of 3 Larval Tears, meaning you have 3 potential respecs. Again, there are more in the game, but this is plenty to get you started, and you now know where you need to go in order to do said respec. So, if you guys have got the information you need, you can step away, but if you don't mind seeing the last part, I will show you inside that site of grace so you can see how the process of respecking works. Once you're inside the academy, you basically then turn around and you go to this character here and you speak to her, and then she will give you the ability to A, change your cosmetics, but also you select the rebirth option, and here she will then accept a tier, and in doing so you will respec. Now I'm not going to do it this time because I have already respec'd and I like my setup, and again, unfortunately, I forgot to record that. But basically what will happen after this is you will then be given the opportunity to re-spend the skill points that you have earned up until this point. But again, to emphasize, it will not completely reset you. So if you started as a samurai who has, say, 15 points in dex and 15 points in strength, I can't remember the exact stat distribution, you can't then revert that down to 0. You will have to keep the baseline stats you had at the beginning of the game when you were level 1 or level 9. But beyond that point, you can then respec. So if you've been investing heavily into, say, strength and you want to go dex for some weapons or something like that, then you can do so. Anyway, that's it. That's a little rundown on how to respec and how to get the items you needed to respec. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. If you have any questions, by all means let me know in the comments down below. If you want to find out where to get some awesome incantations so you can then throw out some badass fire magic, click this video on screen and be sure to keep it locked for plenty more Elden Ring coverage.